Welcome to This Wild Journey, the podcast where your body, your brain, and your battle plan come together. If you're reeling from betrayal trauma, drowning in the chaos of divorce or custody court, feeling overwhelmed by post-trauma parenting, you are in the right place. We're here to untangle hard truths that bring clarity and courage so you can reclaim your power, protect your peace, and resolve trauma without reliving it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to This Wild Journey, where we help protective parents just like you move from chaos to clarity with court-ready strategies and nervous system support that actually works. I'm Sarah McDugal, and today I get to turn the tables and interview my brilliant co-host and trauma translator, Coach Bren.
Hey friends, let's talk about trauma, sensory safety, and one very determined robot.
This is part 3 of our family movie night series on the wild robots. So if you missed parts 1 or part 2, definitely go back and catch that first. Now, in today's episode, we are stepping out of courtrooms and conflict, which is where I live, and into the nervous system. Because in The Wild Robot, Roz doesn't just adapt mentally, she literally rewires herself to survive. And for protective parents recovering from trauma, goodness, that metaphor is everything. So let's start with that image. Bren, Roz crash lands in a world she was not built for. There's no manual, no support system. She's alone in the wild. She was not programmed for this. And Bren, what does this represent for someone who's just left an abusive relationship or maybe is navigating post-separation chaos?
Well, Roz is the ultimate trauma metaphor. She crash lands and wakes up in survival mode. Her operational goal is very basic. Just don't die today. And she's been
Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar at all.
She's been programmed to find a task and just complete it. But she's completely dysregulated and lacks the language to communicate with the environment around her and can't seem to find the right task to feel useful, much less complete it. And that's exactly where so many protective parents are when they first leave a toxic or abusive partner, or they're facing long-lasting, high-conflict custody battles. You're not building a future. You're just trying to make it through the next 5 minutes. And your nervous system is in fight, flight, freeze, appease, and you're reacting. You're not authentically living. And that takes a whopping toll on your entire system, your body, your brain, your entire self. It's soul shattering.
Yeah. I mean, and I've
Yes,
been
you
there.
have.
You've been there in different ways. I lived there far too long. 0 stars, do not recommend. And yet, though, when you're in it, and it doesn't matter if it's 0 stars, do not recommend, you can't just snap out of it. You have to figure out a way through it. And so we see Roz in The Wild Robot. She doesn't stay frozen forever. She learns and she adapts. She changes. And it's not comfortable and it's not easy, but it is incredibly meaningful. What do you see in that transition when you're talking about trauma and the body and the brain?
Yeah, she watches, she listens, she experiments, and at one point she goes into what looks like shutdown from the outside. But she's actually staying super still and paying very close attention to everything around her in order to learn how to interact more successfully. So Roz doesn't force herself to get it right. She lets herself learn from her body's feedback. That's what somatic keto can look like. It's not about pushing harder. It's about noticing what's safe and slowly choosing new responses. So you start by tracking
Hmm.
your physiological cues. You just pay attention to your body's
Hmm.
patterns in response to the stimuli around you. You stop apologizing for needing rest. That's a big one. And you notice which part of
Yeah.
your body tenses up when your phone buzzes. And you learn to pause before reacting.
Yeah. And that is really, really easy to skip that step because survival makes us numb, right? It feels like everything is just kind of moving through molasses, or like you're trapped in amber and you cannot see things clearly or move
Yeah,
quickly.
absolutely. So survival can dull your signals or it can sharpen your sensory signals,
Yes.
but dull your ability to consciously notice
Yeah,
them.
also true.
So this is robotic for a reason. Like she was never designed to feel, but being in nature and learning to protect and building relationships, those things rewire her. And that's exactly what happens to humans post trauma. You don't think your way to a sense of
Yeah,
safety, you feel your way there
right.
by learning to tune into and trust your own internal signals again.
And if you've been in a kind of relationship where you've maybe been gaslighted or made to doubt your own reality, made to doubt what you know to be true, made to doubt your own ability to sense reality around you, it can be really hard to tune into your signals and trust those internal signals again because you've been taught to ignore them, maybe even from childhood,
Right.
conditioned to ignore them. And one thing I love about Roz is how she learns from the animals around her who are very in tune with their own
Mhm.
instincts and their own internal signals. And those animals around her, I mean, it's a very dicey interaction there, especially at first when they don't know what she is. They call her the monster. But in the end, they don't try to change her. They model how to live in rhythm with their
Yeah.
environment.
Wildness becomes your teacher. And for us, that's the wisdom of the body. So think about it. Your body knows when to sleep, and your gut knows when something's off, and your shoulders know when you're carrying too much. But trauma teaches you to
Hmm.
ignore those signals, just to override or to comply. And somatic healing is about tuning back in and returning to yourself.
And I want to point out for those of our listeners who are faith based, faith familiar individuals, this doesn't mean just returning to yourself as a a mammal or a breathing creature. It really means returning to yourself with the autonomy that God originally gave you.
Absolutely.
So, okay, and let's have a practical moment here. For someone listening right now who is still stuck in a trauma response loop, what's one teeny tiny, gentle first baby micro step that they can take to start that rewiring, to start unnumbing and coming back alive?
Start with sensory anchoring.
Okay, what's that?
Find one thing that helps you notice the present moment without judgment. And that might be like wrapping up
Okay.
in a heavy blanket or touching something textured like a stone or a nice soft fabric or drinking a hot mug of something and just feeling it. And say to yourself, this moment is safe. I'm allowed to feel. That's it. You don't have to heal your whole nervous system right now. You just have to remind your body that right now you're not in danger.
I really love that. I'm going to throw out a couple of other things that I love doing when I need this kind of moment, and that is feeling sunlight.
Mhm.
So whether I stand outside and I just tilt my face up and I let my mind focus in on how the warmth of the sunlight feels
Mhm.
on my face and my shoulders and my hands, and then how the breeze feels. Or if it's not warm outside, but there's sunlight, putting a blanket
Mhm.
on the floor. You know how the cats in your house always find that one warm sunny spot and they curl up there and sprawl out? I like to do that. Maybe I'm a cat
Learn from the
internally.
wildlife. Yeah.
Seriously though, yeah, just basking in the sunlight. And sure, there's the biological, physiological things like you're getting vitamin D, and that's really good, especially if you're struggling with depression and it can help you feel better and all of those
Mhm.
things. But it's just one of those sensory things where you just slow down time
Absolutely.
enough to feel that. I'm a big fan of that weighted blanket, wrapping up in a soft, fuzzy, heavy blanket. If you've ever been over at my house, which
Yes, I
you
have.
have, you know that the supply of soft, fuzzy, weighted blankets is unlimited. I am such a sucker. Okay, you know what? I digress. Let's get back to Ross.
Well, let me just say you've supplied
So,
me
you
with
know,
those kinds of things too. Thank you so much.
oh, you're welcome. Those are gifts I love to
Yeah.
give. So, by the end of the movie, let's loop back here. By the end of the movie, Roz is physically, she's broken. However, she's not destroyed, which is a really important thing for protective parents, because when you're walking through trauma, even if, let's just say, you're not a protective parent, but you've experienced trauma, you're living through really hard stuff, it can feel like you're getting completely broken down. And if you ignore all of those signals, then you can end up broken down for sure. But in this movie, Rise is rebuilt instead of destroyed,
Yeah.
even though she's been through a bit of a disassembling. So let's talk about that metaphor for nervous system healing.
Okay. Yeah, Ross doesn't exactly go back to who she was. She becomes something stronger and more whole, actually, because she went through the wilderness. And that's the goal of somatic recovery. It's post-trauma growth. So not to get back to normal, but to integrate what you survived into who you're becoming, your new normal. To let healing reshape your
Yeah,
responses, your boundaries, your voice.
right. I know a lot of people are like, I just want things to get back to the way they were. I just want to get back to who I was. And it can be really hard to
Mhm.
hear. But after experiencing trauma, after going through things like protecting your children from harm or fighting in the court system or whatever that is in your particular situation, you're probably never going to be who you were before. For starters, just because you have experience you didn't have. The you before now didn't know all the things you know. So the goal can't be to get back to who I was. The goal can be to become someone incredible, someone honest, someone honorable, someone caring and compassionate, someone who uses what you know now to turn that pain into purpose. You can be someone absolutely amazing, but it will be a new someone. It won't be who you were before.
Yeah, I'd say it would be getting back to not who you were before, but who you are. There will be
Yes,
change, there will be growth, but it's getting back to who you authentically are,
the
true
true
self. Hmm.
self, the core of
Exactly.
you. Yeah, we should do a whole series of episodes about the true self at some point, because I know you've got a lot of material on that. But for this one, let's close with this. What would you say to the parent listening who feels like they've been in survival mode for just way
Hmm.
too long?
I'd say there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken beyond repair. Okay. Your body did exactly what it was
Yeah,
designed to do to help you survive in the moment. And now you're allowed
right.
to integrate that into who you are today, to learn new ways to live
Mhm.
slowly and gently and wildly honest. You don't have to become someone else.
I love that.
You don't have to be completely different. You do need to come home to yourself, though. And it's important to make sure that being at home with yourself is a safe place to be.
That is a lot to chew on for today. And so we're going to leave it right there. This was part 3 of our series on family movie night in the Wild Robot. And we do have a part 4. So make sure to listen to the next episode where we're going to wrap this up with more nervous system information and tie it in with how to talk to your kids and understand it better yourself. So, if this episode gave you a little breath of clarity, would you share it with someone who's in the trenches with you? Pass it on to someone else who really needs to hear this. And don't miss our next episode with more practical breakdowns about regulating the nervous system from Coach Bren.
And grab our free family movie night discussion guide at thiswildjourneypodcast.com. It includes reflection prompts, gentle regulation tips, and ways to talk about trauma in language that makes sense for kids and for grown-ups alike.
And as always, you don't have to walk this wild journey all alone. See you next time. Brought to you by Wilderness to Wild. www.thiswildjourneypodcast.com